Yo, Thought Warriors. What is up? Her learning is on. It is I, Van Lathan Jr.
And it's me, Rachel Lindsay.
Rachel, how are you?
I'm fine.
What's going on with you? How was your weekend?
Super chill. I was trying to just be still. You know, I'm
Your face is shiny.
always doing something. Yeah, sunscreen.
Sunscreen for the face?
You don't use sunscreen?
When I'm on a walk outside, I do.
Oh no, you should use it all the time when you're in the car and the sun rays are coming. It's like really good for your skin.
Well, okay. Well,
and like I'm
how does it help?
subjected to discoloration, so I'll try to use as much sunscreen as I can.
So what is it? So because I have like a mist that when I go walk, I put the mist on.
Which one? It's I know which one you're talking about. I can't think of the name.
It's SPF.
They're all SPFs. But what number are you using? Should be 50 plus.
50?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it 50?
Just better.
What are the numbers?
25, you can have 30.
How do you feel about the widely held notion that Black people don't need sunscreen?
I think that's kind of dying.
I think it's over.
Yeah, people realize that we were told that forever. Like, oh, you don't need sunscreen, or at least not to apply it to our face. Like maybe when we went outside, we did on our bodies, but now, no, sunscreen's necessary. You should apply multiple times a day because it goes away. That's why it's good you have a mist.
I got a mist. What did people do before sunscreen was invented?
I don't know.
You ever think about stuff like that?
Yeah.
Because like there's a lot of stuff that we need, right?
Yeah.
But there was a time when we didn't have it. Like I think about all the stuff. I mean, I know that we still need it because we know more and we do better. But I think about all the stuff that we do for like having babies and stuff like that. We didn't used to have that stuff.
Thug it out.
They used to thug it out.
That's why women were dying so young. I mean, also they were having babies at like 14, 15.
And then it was just like in the woods sometimes. Just like,
You know what it makes me think of? Because I'm watching House of Dragon right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
House of Dragon, season 1.
Tough. It was a tough.
First episode. It's the first, second episode, something like that.
Even like when the meats that we used to have, used to kill the meat, you eat the meat, you dry it out.
But you cooked it?
You cooked it, but it wasn't.
Seasoning.
No seasoning.
No seasoning. You think about that.
That's what happened to the white people.
We progress.
They
did not.
Some of us did.
They did not.
So you were,
anyways, I was trying to be still and present and like not feel like I have to, always move. But I went to dinner with a friend. I had my little goddaughters come over. We had a pool day. You've met them before.
Yeah, I saw you had a pool day.
It was I invited Kalika.
Yeah, niggas.
I did, but that was really fun because like they love it. It's just being around kids. Just it grounds because I'm not around kids all the time. It's just like grounds me. Just like makes me not focus on so many things that I don't need to focus on, and just like see things through their eyes. So it was a really good day.
Can I ask a thorny question?
Can I give you a thorny answer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, we've seen a couple of things in the news recently.
Yeah.
Is this stressing you to fuck out?
Yeah. Yeah.
To what level?
This is what I was like highly because, a lot of people, will say are like all the stuff people are getting right now is through, people picking out the court documents. And so you're reading things in black and white where, there's a motion, there's a response, there's a reply. And then people take from that, and I get it. Like we do this, right? We don't necessarily know the full story. Like we take what we read and we make an opinion or an assumption off of that. But there's a reason. Like I kept a lot of stuff private, and people weren't privy to everything, good, bad, in between. But it kills me that my personal business, and not all true by any means, is out there like that. That's tough for me, that so much of my private business is out there and it's not even true.
Is this the only way that this could be done, or is there a different way?
Well, yeah, like people mediate. I mean, like look at who was it? Lisa Bonet and
Jason Momoa.
Jason Momoa. They announced, and the next day it was settled. Like, they handled everything probably for months, maybe even years before they brought it to the public. Even that Bobby girl from social media, they announced
Bobby Altoff.
they had settled. Like, you can easily do these things behind closed doors. So, you know, it's just not the way things are done.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it's extremely stressful. It's extremely stressful.
Are we almost at the end of it, or we have a long road ahead?
I have no idea. It's not really on me. I'm not asking for anything.
We'll move on. Last thing I'll say about this is, y'all know I like to play a lot, but don't play with me about this. I've seen a couple people play with me about this. Like you want to joke about it. Don't play with me about this. Don't play with me. Don't play with her. Don't play with my family. And that's like, it's like not, I don't think you guys get it. It's not a funny thing to me. So we can laugh, we can joke, we can play.
There will be a time.
Yeah, there will be a time where we can laugh, we can joke,
now.
we can play, we can, snipe and shoot little insults and all of that stuff. And it's hypocritical because I play about other people's shit.
That's what I'm saying. I get it to a point. I'm not even mad that people have opinions.
Yeah. But
you asked me, is it stressful? Absolutely. Like, I really didn't talk about,
right.
The inner workings of everything.
I'm a hypocrite because I'll play about other people's shit, but I'm not going to play about Rachel. So I'm a hypocrite. So
Thanks.
That's already been established. So just don't play with me about it because you're not going to get anything back but fuck you or a block or something like that because it's not, I'm too close to it. So let's not play. My weekend was cool. I'm on some new vitamins.
Okay. But
okay.
They were recommended to you, or you like, oh, you have them in your pocket. Okay.
Yeah, I got it because I haven't taken them yet because I got to eat.
Those are like horse pills. Yeah, those are the kind of vitamins that if you take on an empty stomach, you're going to be out of here. You're
Yeah.
sick.
And I've learned it, right? I've learned it. I'm on some new vitamins. I've been plateauing a little bit, but it's time.
You feel better taking them?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's amazing that you need your vitamins.
I'm not a really big vitamin taker. Maybe I should be on that.
You feel better on the vitamins. You sleep better. It's like things move better. You need your vitamins. It also tells you that you probably aren't eating to the degree that you need to be.
Oh, I know I'm like withering away.
Yeah.
I know that's not the case. And not that you say that, I'm like, I am not sleeping well at all.
Yeah.
Maybe the vitamins are the answer.
It's some vitamins. It might also be your Wingstop and pork chop diet.
It's not. I haven't had a pork chop in a while, but I do have one in the refrigerator ready to cook for tonight.
Oh, damn. Oh, my God. A pork-based diet. A lot of stuff going on, guys. A lot of stuff going on, but the weekend was just cool. I feel like we had a fun time July 4th.
Oh, we did have a fun time.
Yeah. So having a fun time July 4th was kind of like the whole thing. We just kind of tough. I do want to say one thing real quick about July 4th. Obviously, you guys know that, it's the day of dread for me. And that, it's the anniversary of my father's passing away. And I've decided something about this. I want to say something real quick about the grief thing. It's isolating is the thing about grief. It's isolating, right? Because we all miss our fathers, but I miss my father, right? And so people are like, I get it, I know what it's like, but you really don't know what it's like, right? Because you don't know what it's like to kind of be in a situation and want to talk to someone or want to say something to someone, and it makes you have to come to terms with forever and all of that. But I will say that it is time for me, mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, to wrest control, because I feel like I've been maybe giving a little bit too much to grief. There are some ways, tell you what I mean. There are some ways that I feel like things that I've used to be more disciplined about, things I used to be more resolute about, that sometimes it can be an easy excuse for me to say I'm depressed or I'm grieving or whatever. I'm still responsible for myself. I'm still responsible for the effort I put in and the way that I show up. And the best way to like honor my dad is not to let his absence completely derail me from who I used to be and like who I am. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I do want to attack this in a little bit of a different way because this year for some reason was really hard. I don't know why. Oh, speaking of that, everybody who called and reached out, obviously my dear mother, my sister, Ebony, the strap-on queen,
Don't do my girl like that.
all of my, I know that you guys have a relationship. Be careful.
Stop. Keep going.
You told me, you say, Van, I'm DMing with your sister. I'm like,
I like Ebony.
All right, Rachel. Okay.
Stop.
What do you use to cut papers?
Keep going.
What do you use
No.
What do you use? Ashleigh, what do you use to cut? If you were going to cut some cardboard, what would you use?
A knife.
What else could you use?
A karate chop.
Yeah, see, she doesn't want to say it either. I'm just saying. Don't get you'll all right now. Like you'll fuck around and I'll come over to the house and Ebony will be answering the door like fucking Ving Rhames from Baby Boy. Okay. But I had a conversation with someone who occupies a special place in my life. Of course, Kalika. Okay? Bozeman there for me. Of course, these people are there for me. But Jason Wilson.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Wilson called me and we talked. And even at 44 years old, the feeling of being able to express your feelings, your fears, your thoughts to a Black man, to an older Black man who you trust is just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the boys up there in Detroit and Mr. Wilson's worldwide congregation of men who look up to him and trust him are very, very lucky. I felt seen. I felt heard. I felt supported by the energy of a man who I know is in lockstep with God and his community and his family. And it really did something for me. So I want to thank him.
I'm really happy you have that.
Yeah, thank him. It's great. All right. Now, somebody who didn't make me feel that way, Joe Biden. We got to talk about him on the other side of this break.
Well, I'm just going to pick up where you just left off.
Okay.
With Joe Biden, who you said didn't make you feel great. Are you basing that off of, so this past Friday, we saw Joe Biden sit down with George Stephanopoulos and do an exclusive interview, post-debate interview,
Yes.
22 minutes,
Yes.
uninterrupted.
Yes.
And you're saying, I'm assuming, based off of that interview with George Stephanopoulos, that you don't feel great about Biden. Is that why you're saying that?
No, I don't feel any better. I don't feel any better or any
better.
worse. It just treading water.
Which is a sentiment that I've seen expressed. So in this post-debate interview that he had with George, some highlights, he said he was staying in the race. He continued to call the debate a bad night. He continued to talk about how he was exhausted, how he had a cold, how he had been traveling. And, George pushed back a lot, I have to say, about some of the questions seemed to be redundant. He wasn't taking the answers that Biden was giving him as, that's his truth. He was pushing back on him. And one of the things he said was, you had 12 days since you came home from overseas, 6 days to prepare. Biden talked about being sick, talked about having a cold. He continued to talk about the work that he's done as president. And George pushed back on that and said, okay, but people want to know how you're going to be in these next 4 years, not what you have done. He denied the poll numbers, said that his people have a different take on, or different numbers than what George was giving him, because at the time George was basing those polls that were saying the Bloomberg poll hadn't come out yet, which has Biden doing better. But the polls prior to that had Trump up by 6 points. A lot of people had your same sentiment. You know, they said he wasn't as bad as he was in the debate, but they weren't moved in a way where they've completely changed their minds or they say, okay, that was just a bad episode. Now we're okay. So the question I have for you and for all the people who think that way is, what were you expecting? What did you think you were going to get from that interview that would made you say, you know what, I am confident in Biden moving forward and he should be the one who is running against Trump in this presidential election?
I wasn't expecting to have that response.
Which response? Okay, you weren't expecting to be moved.
No.
Okay.
No. So there's nothing that Joe Biden right now can do to move me or change me. I think that we all know Joe Biden is Joe Biden, right? The only answer in the entire interview that actually mattered to me, when George asked him, Stephanopoulos, asked him how he would feel if he ended up losing the race, and the country was then run by Donald Trump. Essentially, the question is, if you don't leave the race and you lose, how would you feel?
Mm-hmm.
Play the answer. Did you hear what he said? He said, if I did my goodest and did my
Yes,
best
I
job.
heard it.
Okay, right. All right. So
it was at the end.
that right there.
It was the goodest that got me.
So that right there was the only answer that I actually cared about.
Okay.
Because that took something that is about all of us and kind of made it about President Biden, right? Him saying, if I gave my best, then I'm going to feel good about it. Here's the situation. There's another thing that not a lot of people would like to talk about. Joe Biden is probably going to be out of the game soon, either way. I wish long life on President Biden for the sake of his family, because he's a human being. I wish long life on him. But these are his twilight years. A lot of the decisions that Joe Biden is making in terms of the presidential race are going to affect us more than they will affect him. So when he answered that question and he said, hey, if I've done my best job, I'll feel okay. I actually don't think that gets to the heart of what Stephanopoulos was trying to ask or what people are afraid of. They're afraid about their future. And for President Biden, not to put an expiration date on him, it doesn't seem like there's likely that he has much of a future on planet Earth as we do. We have another 40 years or whatever, if we're looking at his age, to watch the country crumble. That was a little bit concerning to me, that he would look at it that way, considering the existential danger that Donald Trump, Project 2025, and some of these fringe people on the right pose to the fabric of American society, in my opinion. So when I saw that, I was like, that's not what I would have wanted him to say in that situation. But I will say this. As we came on this morning, Joe Biden released a letter. And this letter talked about the fact that he talked to a lot of the people in the Democratic Party, because there's been a civil war that's been happening. A lot of your big donors, you saw Abigail Disney, you saw Jeffrey Katzenberg, you saw the donor class of the Democratic Party threaten to leave President Biden, threatened to leave him so he couldn't raise money. You saw people asking for a different ticket. Some people asking for Kamala Harris and trying to sub in new people. You saw the Democratic Party try to coalesce and kick Biden out. First of all, what did you think about that?
I think it's ridiculous.
Okay.
I mean, we kind of touched on it last time, but what does that actually look like? So what you can't do is say, okay, we're going to kick Biden out and we're just going to, you can't just shuffle in Kamala Harris because then the money just transfers over and that's the easiest thing to do because she's the vice president. Then you're taking away from the people their opportunity to choose who they want the nominee to be. So how are you going to allow the people to choose? I think it's a little too late to primary. So you're going to put up Kamala versus Gavin versus Gretchen, assuming these people will even throw their names in the ring for it. So to me, it just seems counterproductive. Okay, you didn't like Biden's performance. You're worried about his age. You're worried about his ability to run the country for the next 4 years. I just don't see a legitimate pathway towards getting the person you do want that you do believe will beat Trump. I just don't see it. So to me, it's just a bunch of talk, and it's an unnecessary civil war within the Democratic Party because we're being counterproductive and we're focusing on fighting the wrong, in my opinion, at this point, the wrong thing. We need to direct our attention to Trump.
I think that's the takeaway. We'll talk about that later as we pivot.
Primary?
No, not the primary.
Oh.
The fact that it is now time, if Joe Biden is standing granite and saying that he is not leaving the race, it's time to shift the focus of the race to what we're up against. If that is, in fact, the decision that's been made.
Yeah.
And there's no way to affect that decision, then it's time to shine a spotlight on Donald Trump, Project 2025, some of the other stuff that we've been hearing and seeing, and just what the country looks like under 4 years of Donald Trump, emboldened by a far right that is increasingly becoming radical and fascist. I think that's fair to say. I will say this, if I was to throw a small caveat into what it is that you're saying. I don't think the voters that made the decision about Joe Biden leading the party or being at the top of the ticket thought that a debate performance like what happened on Thursday night or a couple of Thursdays ago was a possibility. I think if I was going to speak for some of those people or just the general sentiment of those people, there wasn't, obviously, there wasn't a primary, so there were no debates before this. When they would see the president before this, they would see the president not necessarily speaking extemporaneously. They'd see him in situations where he had prepared speeches or where he was reading something and then maybe answering a couple of questions. And I think watching him perform in flow informed them in a new way that made even some people that might have voted for Joe Biden in a primary reconsider those votes. And so whereas there are millions of people that have already voted for President Biden, I don't think they necessarily thought that he was as bad off as he showed that Thursday night. Now, once again, he has said that he had a bad night. His campaign has said that he had a bad night. The people in his inner circle have said that he had a bad night. If Joe Biden was able to run on his record, I think the country is doing well. The jobs report came out not too long ago. Fox News was once again in great consternation over the fact that 206,000 jobs were added to the economy in June. And if you ever want to have a lot of fun, go to Fox Business and watch these people who are supposed to be these ultra patriots hand-wring over the fact that the country is doing well. It's so funny to watch. It's very funny. It's one of the things I like to do the most. Anyhow, so I'm saying I do think that people thought that there was a different version of the president that was actually occupying the White House. But to your point, we're where we are.
Yeah.
And it is time now to shift the focus of our discussion from Joe Biden. This is for people who are resolute in defeating the MAGA movement, what it stands for and what it means in November. It is time to shift the focus from President Biden to what we're up against. If, in fact, what we're up against is an anti-democratic fascist regime that's represented by a racist base, a base that doesn't believe in, the fabric of working people in America, doesn't believe in health care for people in America, doesn't believe in bodily autonomy, doesn't believe in identifying the Black American achievements, studying Black American achievements, equal footing and equal perch for Black Americans, gay Americans, Latino Americans, women in this country, people who want to dominate and take the country backwards. If in fact that's what we're up against, then it's time to talk about that rather than talk about the fact that we don't have the perfect candidate or we don't have the perfect party that's up against it. So it's time now to either fight or die.
Yeah.
That's it. Fight or die. You look over, you're in a fight, right? You look over, your blade is rusty. It's not quite sharp enough.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have time to sharpen the blade. You can look at the blade the entire time you're fighting, or you can concentrate on the opponent that's in front of you and see how you're going to use what you have to beat them. We're to that point now. If this is in fact the thing, now we're moving to the point to where all the conversation about him getting out of the race, all the conversation about moving away from him is masturbation by the mainstream media and by Democrats who are using this opportunity to increase their voice and become players on the national stage.
I am concerned that too much damage has been done.
Are you now?
So to use the analogy that you used, I think the vision is blurred. If this is a battle and they're going in a fight, I think they've blurred the vision of the people who are rallying around or fighting for Biden. For the undecided voter, for the independent voter, for the person who's not like, I'm just fully going in on Biden because I want to beat Trump, or for the unexcited voter, their biggest fears have become true, and that's been furthered by the very own party who's supposed to be supporting him, the very own party who's convinced us this whole entire year that this is the man who should be representing the Democratic Party and who can beat Trump. And now top House Democrats are meeting behind closed doors and are calling for things to change. If I am an undecided voter, I'm not saying I'm running to vote for Trump, but how do I decide to vote at all? It depends what's motivating you. If the fear of Trump becoming president is the biggest, the overriding, opinion that you have, or the biggest fear, I should say, that you have, then I guess you will get out there and vote. But if you don't have that, then why vote? And I think how many days? It's been 2 weeks almost? 10 days? I don't know, since the debate. And I don't think that the Democrat Party has done a good job of taking control of the way the media has run rampant with this narrative that Biden should not be running. I don't think that they've been in control. It took today for Biden to post that letter on social media and to send that out. Why wasn't something like that done sooner? I just feel like so much doubt has crept in, and then if you're like, well, I don't know, am I just imagining this? No, that's being solidified also by the people who are in control in the House or Congress, period. I just am now afraid, and you look at the polls as of late, like take not the Bloomberg, but the polls that just came out today, it's mirroring what I'm saying.
So there's some polling right now. It's a new poll from Emerson Polling. Nevada, Trump is up 47-41. Pennsylvania, Trump is up 48-43. That's a concerning one. Georgia, Trump is up 47-42. Arizona, Trump is up 46-42. Wisconsin, Trump is up 47-44. Michigan, Trump is up 45-44. So it looks like here in the swing states, which are the states that are going to decide this election, at least according to this polling, there's some other polling that's not quite as bad for the president. It looks like in some of these swing states, there's been at least some reaction to the debate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's not just reaction to the debate, though. It's also reaction to your point, the disarray in the Democratic Party. So whereas, I don't think the Democrats have handled this very well at all.
Yeah.
I think that the way that they a lot of times talk to their base. I talked about this before a lot of times, the way they gaslight us. I don't think it's helpful at all. I do think that it's time, at least in the party, for them to present a united front and remind people what they're voting for and voting against. In terms of the media, it's not the media's job to cover for President Biden. I don't care which site you go to. It's not the New York Times or CNBC or MSNBC or CNN's job to cover for President Biden or not to cover what's a relevant story in American politics. It is their job, though. To cover Donald Trump, who's been missing for 10 days at this point, who is essentially running out the clock.
Well, we saw him.
Running out the clock to cover him, to cover Project 2025, to cover the threat and the danger just by covering it. Like, you don't need to do anything more than to cover Mark Robinson, who is a Republican running for governor in North Carolina, who had this to say at a church on Sunday.
You know, it was a time when we used to meet evil on the battlefield, and guess what we did to it? We killed it. We didn't quibble about it. We didn't argue about it. We didn't fight about it. We killed it. When the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, what did we do? We flew to Japan, and we killed the Japanese Army and Navy. We didn't even quibble about it. I didn't start this fight. You did. You wanted to be left alone. You should have left me alone. We didn't argue and capitulate and talk about, well, maybe we shouldn't fight the Nazis that hard. No, they're bad. Kill them. Some liberal somewhere is going to say that sounds awful. Too bad. Get mad at me if you want to. Some folks need killing. It's time for somebody to say it. It's not a matter of vengeance. It's not a matter of being mean or spiteful. It's a matter of necessity. We have wicked people doing wicked things, torturing and murdering and raping. It's time to call out those guys in green and go have them handle it. Or those boys in blue and have them go handle it. We need to start handling our business again because, guys, what I said at the beginning about you getting in your cars, listening to your radio, putting on what you want to put on, and saying what you want to put on, keep thinking about it. Don't you feel it slipping away? Don't you feel it slipping away? The further away we get from the concept of 1776 and why we declared our independence and how we declared our independence.
That's on the heels of the Heritage Foundation and its president, Kevin Roberts, who this happened not too long ago, who was being interviewed. I can't remember on which site it was, who said that we were in the midst of the Heritage Foundation, which is behind Project 2025, said that we were in the midst of a second American Revolution and that revolution would be bloodless if the left allows it to be. So what's happening is, as the infrastructure and the coalition of the left is weakening, the coalition on the right is becoming increasingly emboldened, less fearful of putting their actual plans for this country and their actual vision of America, which isn't cooperation, which is domination, which isn't democracy, it's fascism, and which isn't freedom. It is rule by a very specific Judeo-Christian ethic that they would want to force onto the American people, despite what it says in the Constitution. They are becoming completely unafraid, as it seems the left gets more afraid. And whereas it's not the mainstream media's job to cover for President Biden, it is their job. It is their job to inform Americans, including undecided voters or voters that might be a little apathetic about what's on the left right now, to inform them about the absolute lunacy that is coming out of the right. Now, President Trump has come back and said he knows nothing about Project 2025. We obviously know that that's a lie. Former Trump staffers, former Trump MAGA world people are behind it. The Heritage Foundation, that guy, Donald Trump was on stage with him. That guy, Kevin Roberts, Donald Trump was on stage with him. He's talked about how much the Heritage Foundation means to him. There's a super PAC that he's involved with in terms of the Heritage Foundation. Donald Trump knows all about what's going on. And if he is president, the people that will be in his ear and have access to the president will be the people that are seeking to make this country over and take it back to a pre-World War II time, to where all the groups that have fought so hard to become viable and powerful in America don't have a voice anymore. That's a fact.
But see, like, even listening to you say that, to me, this just seems so simple for the Democrats. As we've talked about on this podcast, you've been scaring us for a while now. So why then would you open yourselves up to possibly lose all of that momentum that you've built up because and fair, it was a bad performance. We said that before, but because you saw a bad performance and now you're panicking, to me, it almost highlights the fear that they have of the right because they are panicking because they're so desperate to not allow this stuff to happen. But within that panic, I think that you're deterring voters away from Joe Biden. You're not showing confidence in him. When somebody like Mark Robinson, who the only reason he has become lieutenant governor and very well may become the governor of the state of North Carolina is because he went viral because he had a 4-minute speech in front of a city council where he was defending gun rights and defending police officers. And from then on has said the most outrageous things to, demonizing Martin Luther King Jr. He's sexist, he's homophobic, he's transphobic, he's racist against his own people. I mean, and we're not talking about somebody who is a lunatic. He's holding power. He is somebody whose his actions, like the things he's saying, could possibly come to fruition, as he very well may defeat Josh Stein, I believe that's his name, who's the Attorney General in North Carolina, and have
close race,
and have power over that state.
Mm-hmm.
These people, for the first thing I said, it's just so simple to me. You talk about the Heritage Foundation. These aren't people who are just coming together and raising money. They're actually implementing things that are affecting the very way this country functions. The Heritage Foundation is behind establishing the Supreme Court that exists today, that is rolling back rights in this country that have existed for decades. They're not just saying it, they're doing it. And the actions so far from the Democrats, or where they stand right now, are empowering them even further. And as I'm talking, I'm getting mad that this is the place that we're in, because now truly, I said it once before, but then I kind of felt a different way. I was like, Joe Biden's got this. I really don't know. And I don't know because I think there are going to be a lot of people now who just don't vote. And I don't think that we're doing enough. I think we're too late, honestly, in talking about Project 2025. It's been I think I saw Amanda Sills talk about this. Like we're talking about it now like it's something that's trending and not something that's serious. We're not talking, we're mentioning it. And when I say I'm more so talking about like the Democrats, rather than having
us too.
Rallies explaining what this is, what it will look like. We're going to bring someone on to talk about.
Well, we're going to run down a list of things that are in it right now.
But I also there is a Stop Project 2025 that I don't think is getting enough play. And we're going to bring Congresswoman Presley on to talk about this. But I just feel like we're almost too late in this has been around for a while. We're almost too late in even really emphasizing not just what it is, but what they plan to do. And then coupling that with what they've already done. It's not just talk. We're seeing it happen with what I said with the Supreme Court, or these red states who have people who are Republicans running their states. And when they're allowed to have control over the laws that they make within those states, they are rolling back the rights.
Yeah. So Project 2025 is the presidential transition project. It's the vision of the country from the far right. These are some of the highlights. End no-fault divorce. Complete ban on abortion without exceptions. Ban contraceptives. Additional tax breaks for corporations and the 1%. Higher taxes on the working class. Elimination of unions and worker protections. Raise the retirement age. Cut Social Security. Cut Medicare. End the Affordable Care Act, better known as Obamacare. Raise prescription drug prices. Eliminate the Department of Education. Use public taxpayer money for private religious schools. That goes back into the school choice debate that we had a couple of weeks ago around, Jay-Z and what you saw with Jeff Yazz up there in Philadelphia. Teach Christian religious beliefs in public schools. So destroying the establishment clause right there. End free and discounted school lunch programs. That's not only ending free and discounted school lunch programs, but to add to that, they will probably privatize them. I'm going to pause right here. Even when you guys pay attention to someone named Bianca Tylik and a group called Worth Rises that talks about the privatization of prisons. When we talk about private prisons, a lot of times we fixate on a for-profit prison. What we don't talk about are aspects of the prison that can be privatized. For example, if Aramark, which is a major food services company, comes in and provides the meals for the prison, right? That is a private company that's benefiting off of the prison industrial complex. That means they get to decide the quality of the food. They get to try to cut a profit on the quality of the food, which obviously is not going to place any emphasis on priority on what the prisoners are eating or on their humanity. It's going to put the emphasis on making a buck, right? Telecom companies that come into prisons that are now controlling the calls that are going in and out of prisons and what they charge people in order to be able to communicate with their families when they're free. You guys might all say, hey, these guys are prisoners or whatever. They don't deserve to have any humanity, cheap calls, or whatever. The deal is, the more there is profit being made from the prison industrial complex, the higher the chances that police and the carceral system will be incentivized to provide prisoners to use those services. What you want to do is you want to keep capitalism and its gangster elements out of what we know to be, in a lot of places, illegal slavery, which is what prisoners is. I'm bringing this back to schools because if you eliminate free and discounted lunch programs in schools, you are opening up the possibility that private companies will come over and take ownership of what is happening in these schools. It already happens in some private schools. But if that happens in public schools, how does that affect the costs? How does that affect kids that are depending on public schooling for some of their nutrition? How does it affect the quality of the schools if you privatize that? And that's what we're moving towards when we talk about stuff like this. Use public taxpayer money for private religious schools. I already did that one. In civil rights and DEI protections in government, we already see that happening right now. That's happening right now on an intellectual and cultural level before it's happening in an actual policy level. We see that it's both, that we see DEI programs all over the place getting jettisoned, both at schools and in governments and stuff like that. But we also see the term DEI, diversity and inclusion, right? We see that being made a dirty word on the right. And when they do something like that, it always filters into mainstream American culture, right?
Yeah.
Like even when we play around and we say my DEI, and we say this and this, and we make jokes out of the DEI situation. The jokes are funny, but the more you hear something, the less shocked you are when you hear it.
Sure.
So we have to ask ourselves whether or not playing around with stuff like that serves us. I know that's how we cope, but still. Ban African-American and gender studies programs, all levels of education, so our history doesn't matter. Ban books and curriculums about slavery. Ending climate protections. Increase Arctic drilling. Deregulate big business and the oil industry. That's just going to mean untold profits for the oil industry, and a deregulation of some of these big businesses is going to lead to regulations that, in my opinion, hurt the quality of not only goods, but hurt consumer confidence as well. Like, I think that deregulation, when we talk about it, when you talk about something like Silicon Valley Bank, when you regulate a bank, when you talk about rolling back some of Dodd-Frank, what happens is the standards for that bank to operate are changed. Dodd-Frank protections after the 2008 financial crisis made it so a bank had to be capitalized at, I don't know, was it $50 billion or $100 billion or something like that in order to do business. It put a lot of regulations on these banks so that it was harder for them to fail, right? Number one. But it's also more difficult for them to get into some of the risky investing that they might do if those regulations aren't around, right? Silicon Valley didn't have those types of regulations, so because of some of the rolling back of some of the Dodd-Frank protections that Obama put in. So then when the bank fails, what has to happen? The government has to come bail the bank out. Then you end up paying for the fact that the regulators or the capitalists want to play fast and loose with the money in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, you can't let the bank fail, because if the bank can't make payroll, if the bank can't pay if people are relying on the bank for their payroll and all of that other stuff, a bunch of businesses fail. So the bank, it's capitalism when it's in the interest of the people, and it's socialism when the bank is going to fail. Regulations like Dodd-Frank stop that from happening. It does add a little bit of bloat to the bank because someone has to come in and be responsible for enacting the Dodd-Frank regulations. You have to have a whole different part of the bureaucratic, whatever deep state that creates systems that stress test the bank, promote and expedite capital punishment, end marriage equality. End marriage equality. This is one of those things that polls, when we talk about Project 2025, one of the things right now that's like literally no longer an issue. When was the last time you heard somebody complain about gay marriage?
Clarence Thomas in the dissent.
Like, gay marriage is not.
Decision dissent.
Gay marriage is not a highly contested issue.
Not at all.
In America writ large. It's not at all. Like, contraceptive, that's not a highly contested issue in America writ large. America has made its decision on a lot of these things. If we took the polling on some of the abortion,
well, they don't care.
Is not a highly contested issue in America writ large. It's not. If you talk about see the shining sea, what Americans care about, where their ideas lie on this stuff.
Most of this stuff, the American people would not agree to.
Condemn single mothers while promoting only traditional families. That's funny because Donald Trump has made a couple of single mothers now. Defund the FBI and Homeland Security. That's part of their dismantling of the quote-unquote deep state. Use the military to break up domestic protests. That seems like a good idea. You want the military out there in the middle of a Black Lives Matter protest. That seems like military rule to me. Mass deportation of immigrants and incarceration in camps. In birthright citizenship. Birthright citizenship is something that was created to ensure that African Americans and their lineage could stay here because, the 14th Amendment is like, hey, birthright citizenship is something. So they want to end birthright citizenship so that you're not a citizen being that you're born into this country. Ban Muslims from entering the country.
Jeez.
Eliminate federal agencies like the FDA, EPA, NOAA, and more. Once again, I don't want to over rely on institutions. But the question is, for people, which institutions matter to you? Like, is it important that you can't buy any type of beef, that there's a standard in the beef that you buy because of the USDA?
Mm-hmm.
Is it important that the foods that you might buy pass FDA inspection? Is that important? Do all of those institutions, things like that, do they matter to you? I'm not saying that the FDA is, that we're getting the highest quality food here in America. We know that we're not. I'm saying, does that stuff matter?
Yeah.
Continue to pack the Supreme Court and lower courts with right-wing judges. What do you think about all of this? What does this America look like to you?
The Handmaid's Tale. We've seen it. I've seen it play out in the book Vox. Read it. Handmaid's Tale. That's what this is. And if you watch that show, you see people not really giving much attention to a Project 2025 type regulation. It's not what the people wanted. They just didn't believe it could happen. And slowly but surely, those voices became louder. They got enough power and they were able to implement it. And it was the end of the country. It was the end of America. Fiction, but I don't know, starting to imitate, what's the saying? Reality imitating art?
Yeah.
Whatever. It's starting to sound very, very familiar. My question, though, as I was listening to it and why I want to bring on an expert is, how realistic is it? Let's just say Trump is elected. What has to happen for some of this stuff to come to, like, some of it can, right?
Mhm.
You know, the right case goes up to the Supreme Court and we have another Dobbs type decision. What has to happen for for the FBI to no longer exist, for FDA and EPA? Those are kind of things that I would, and I'm not doing it to say like, oh, don't believe it. Like, he won't really be able to do any of this stuff if it happens. I just want to know, like, what type of power will Congress have under this? What type of power will we know what the Supreme Court is, you know, whatever is far right at this point. But that would be a question for me that I'd want to dig into. What has to play out for this kind of stuff to be able to happen? Is there a world where the Supreme Court can grant the president this type of power? Is checks and balances over? Like, these are things that I would want to know. But the scarier thing than all of this is that they want to do this. This is out there. This is something they've been planning and putting it together. There is a movement behind it. There are people with power that want to see this executed. You ask, what does this type of country look like? It's the Wild Wild West. There's no regulation. I can't even imagine. It's a movie.
So let's take the FBI for a second. A sitting president could, if they had the cooperation of their attorney general, attempt to dissolve the agency, reassign all mandated responsibilities to other agencies, or revert them back to the DOJ itself. The stand-down process would be extensive and involve a massive commitment of resources, which creates a number of potential failure points. The reaction would be an immediate lawsuit that would no doubt find itself express laned to the Supreme Court. Then becomes a battle. Then it's going to be tough. Some of this stuff is easier for a president to do. Some of this stuff is harder. But I don't think that Project 2025 is beginning or ending at the presidency. I think that Project 2025 is taking into consideration, number one, state houses all over the country, which, to be honest with you, state houses all over the country have already been infiltrated by far-right candidates. We talk a lot about what's going on in national politics, but we don't talk about how far-right politicians have already infiltrated state houses. We know this. Texas, Louisiana, Florida, all over the place, right? Tennessee.
We don't talk about Arkansas
enough. All of those places, right?
Yeah.
So what you're talking about is a wide-ranging plan to implement these types of policies in American government. And this plan includes not only those state houses, but it includes the Senate and the House, which will also be fought for in November. A lot of the problems that Democrats were having with President Biden was that they didn't feel like he represented a strong enough top of the ticket in order to ensure their seats in the House and the Senate, right? So all of this stuff is wrapped up into one. And I assure you that their plan doesn't begin or end with just the executive office. I'd say that another reason why beating Trump is important is because beating Trump in November is a significant blow to MAGA. It would be another loss for MAGA. It would be the highest profile loss that MAGA has ever incurred, right? It would be the biggest loss that MAGA has incurred, even bigger than 2020, right? And because of that, what you might see is a small shift in the brass of the Republican Party and their belief in this political strategy and whether or not they can win. If not, this is PEDs for MAGA. This is steroids for MAGA. This is the president coming back after being convicted on 34 criminal, the ex-president, Donald Trump, coming back after being convicted on 34 criminal counts, being indicted all over the place. He looks like Teflon Don now, and it looks like nothing can hurt him. And you not only get more fealty from the people that already believe that he's the Messiah, but you also get a renewed vigor from those who had kind of turned it off a little bit. So that's what's at stake. All right, moving on. Look, let's take a break. That was a lot. I want to talk about something that happened in the world of boxing.
It's your world.
My world?
Yeah, this is your world. I learned more about boxing from you than any other place.
So, Ryan Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
Familiar with him?
Through you, yeah.
So Ryan Garcia
It's been under a lot of controversy as of late.
Ryan Garcia is a boxer who fights at 140. 140 is what weight class is that?
Welter?
Oh, basically, yeah, it's junior welterweight.
Oh, okay.
So welterweight is 147. Junior welterweight is 140.
I was so close.
You're right there. That counts. I don't give a fuck.
Yes.
That counts. Fights at junior welterweight. He used to fight at 135, which was lightweight. He's had an atypical rise up through boxing. He was like an internet sensation. He's a good-looking kid. He was an internet sensation. Very fast, great left hook. He recently had a fight against Devin Haney, in which he beat Devin Haney. However, after the fight, it was revealed that he had tested positive for a banned substance called Ostarine. And the fight, I think, has been officially ruled a no contest, and Ryan Garcia has been suspended for a year. During the lead up to this fight, which was a big fight, him and Devin Haney go way back to the amateurs. Ryan was acting crazy, saying all kinds of things, but a lot of people thought it was just like him trying to sell a fight. Recently, he was on a live stream on Instagram Live, and he said this.
I hate niggas. I'm anti-black. Nigga, I'm KKK, nigga. I hate niggas.
Nigga, I'm KKK.
No, nigga, I'm KKK. Hey, let's go bring George Floyd back to life and kill that nigga again.
Why do you skip Jews all the time? Why do you skip
And
Jews?
guess what? I hate Jews. That's fucking... I actually tweeted that, though. Fuck the Jews, too.
Hey, Ryan.
Nigga, I'm Hitler. You and fuck Muslims that fucking rape little kids.
So he said the N-word several times, and he said that he wished that he could bring George Floyd back from the dead so that he could kill him again. Vile, vile racism. He also talked about Muslims during this whole thing, and he laughed about it. So since that's happened, the WBC president, the World Boxing Council president, has expelled Ryan Garcia from the World Boxing Council. Ryan Garcia has said that, you know, he was inebriated the whole time he was on something, and that he's going to go to rehab. He said that then.
Okay.
He ain't going to rehab now.
Oh, surprise.
Yes. Skipping rehab. He's going to be his brother's full-time coach.
What an influence.
What an influence, right? He also said that he just said a bunch of things. He said that he was really talking about black on black crime. He went into a whole explanation of who George Floyd was, which seemed to, in some way, he was trying to defend what he said, using the N-word and saying that he was trying to defend it. And Golden Boy Promotions, which is a promotion company, it's run by Oscar De La Hoya and Bernard Hopkins. Oscar De La Hoya came out and basically said that he feels like Ryan Garcia needs to get help and that Golden Boy condemns racism.
Mm-hmm.
And that because Golden Boy condemns racism and Ryan Garcia needs to get help, they're going to be right there with him while he gets the help that he needs, and rehab is probably the first step. That's when he said he was going to rehab. Now he's not going to rehab. It's been a couple of days since this happened, and it feels like people have already moved on from it.
Moved on as in they don't care, or moved on because he's been expelled and like, all right.
Nothing has happened to Ryan Garcia.
Well, what would happen to him? Let me. He's been expelled
from the WBC. That's one governing body.
Okay, yeah. So he can still box, is what you're saying.
Well, he's suspended right now, but I don't think that the WBC penalty will even last that long. But there's still the WBA, there's the WBO, there's the IBF.
So is it that people haven't moved on, or is there really like, I guess that's my question. What could be done? Am I surprised that Oscar De La Hoya and his business partner are standing beside him? No, because you just described this guy as a sensation, popular boxer. He makes them money. I'm not shocked by that by any means. I don't know much about Ryan Garcia other than he's clearly a racist, which, again, he's Mexican, so that's interesting. He's a minority as well.
Oh, anti-black sentiment runs rampant.
I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just pointing out the fact that he is a minority as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care how drunk you are. You saying stuff like that, like he was saying he was a part of the KKK and all of this stuff or wanted to be, that's in you. You don't just say that just because you're inebriated. That's in you. That's some deep, dark feelings that you have that are coming out because you're not in control of, what you're saying, thinking, whatever, because of, the alcohol. But this clearly is a man who's not serious and isn't trying to do better or be better. So my question to you as somebody who doesn't know about boxing, what could be done? What more can be done to punish him for his offensive behavior, racist behavior?
Golden Boy Promotions should and absolutely has to drop Ryan Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
That's what could be done. Boxers are viable because of their promoters. The promoters set up the fights. They pay out the purses. They arrange the matchmaking, all of that. Golden Boy Promotions, Ryan Garcia is probably their biggest fighter. Golden Boy Promotions, Oscar De La Hoya and Bernard Hopkins need to drop Ryan Garcia. Seriously. This is what I'm talking about. We have watched black athlete after black athlete get in trouble, right? Say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the times, it's a misunderstanding. Other times, it's absolutely indefensible. I'm not going to bring up any names. People know the things that I'm talking about. When that happens, what we see is those black athletes go above and beyond to make sure everyone knows that they were mistaken, that they were wrong, and that they can be trusted, and that the things that they said, did, might have intimated are not in their heart. This guy, Ryan Garcia, someone who I just paid to watch fight Devin Haney, called black people niggers and then said that he wishes he could bring George Floyd back to life and kill him again. And rather than talk about what he did, people talked about the fact that he needs help. Since when is being a racist, or should I say why is being a racist, something that you need rehab for?
Exactly. I'll agree on that.
Like, why is the answer when black people are affronted rehabilitation? But when we run afoul of someone, the answer is consequence. Like, this is a grown-ass man. We're not talking about somebody that's 17, 16 years old. This guy's 25, 26 years old. Just made millions and millions of dollars for a fight. He's been out there doing his thing, right? This is somebody who has millions of followers on Instagram, more so millions of followers, maybe tens of millions of followers across all of these different social media platforms. This is someone who's been an influencer longer than he's been a world-class boxer. And he came out and said these things unabashed, in public, to the community at large. And nothing.
Well, the WBC, is that what they're called?
The WBC, that's less than a slap on the wrist.
He got expelled.
He got expelled. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is a significant enough consequence to make Ryan Garcia understand that our pain and our safety isn't something he can fucking play with on Twitter. And it's obvious that Oscar De La Hoya
That's it.
and Bernard Hopkins don't agree. They said there's no room for hate at Golden Boy. There is room for hate at Golden Boy. Hate is at Golden Boy right now. And I'm sick of there being a separate fucking set of rules every time somebody that looks like me runs afoul of the status quo. And it's not the same energy kept with everyone else. I'm tired of everyone being able to throw around our pain and throw around our existence and not have anything happen to them. Or it being dealt with like somebody got drunk. Who gets drunk and all of a sudden the nigga, let's kill George Floyd again.
Right.
Ain't enough fucking beers in the world.
Agreed.
You can't have enough tequila. You can't have enough Crown to make me want to be anti-Semitic. You can't have enough drinks to make me want to be anti-gay. You can't have enough of that stuff. That's
It's not in you.
It's not a thing. So like my thing is this, is like, I'm just like, I'm not looking at like Oscar and Bernard to be like paragons of righteousness or wokeness. This is basic shit. It's basic shit to even come out and say we're really evaluating our relationship with Ryan Garcia. They didn't even do that.
No, because
They straight up said rehab is the first thing. We're gonna get them. They don't fucking care.
they care about themselves and their money.
All right.
I even think that if he said it against Latinos, they would say the same thing because they would be it's still wrong. I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying they are people who are motivated by their money. You're right. There's room for hate. There's room for hate as long as it's coupled with rehab.
If you are Black, you should boycott Golden Boy Promotions.
For
if you are a Black boxing fan,
I'm already boycotting them.
if you are a Black boxing fan, you should not pay for, attend, or in any way support any type of event that is thrown or sponsored by Golden Boy Promotions. You shouldn't.
Can I ask you a question really quickly?
You got it.
Does CTE exist in boxing?
Yeah, it's probably bigger.
I'm just asking.
Yeah, of
Not
course.
justifying.
No, they get points in their shit.
But like, I'm just wondering. I don't hear talk. And then again, I don't follow boxing,
But it was focusing on in football. But boxing is probably one of the sports where it's most obvious.
I would think so.
Somebody's a little punchy.
But I don't really hear it as much as I do.
That's why I stopped sparring as much.
Well, let's move on.
I'm serious. I'm not, like the last time I sparred this big heavyweight kid, and I got rocked a couple of times, and I had a headache for a couple of days, and I'm like, why am I getting CTE for free?
Exactly. Yeah, at least have a bag behind it.
Yeah. What you got on your mind, Rach?
I think we talked about it at the top of the podcast. I'm good.
All right. We're going to get out of here. Before we get out of here, I want to talk to Terrence Howard real quick. Look, I want to let people know something. Seriously, I want to let people know something. Maybe this is the second rant of the podcast. Maybe I shouldn't have two rants on one podcast, but whatever. I had to talk about this stuff. I just want to let people know something. Like, people are fucking with y'all. They are. I want the average, everyday person to know this. People are fucking with y'all. Everybody's fucking with y'all. They fucking with y'all. They know that they fucking with y'all. Okay?
Okay.
They know that they fucking with y'all. They know that other people know that they fucking with y'all. And they know y'all don't have time to really deal with the fact that y'all being fucked with. They know that. And they're using this to get all kinds of shit. And I gotta talk about Terrence Howard, right?
So he's one of these people.
He's one of these people.
Tell us about Terriology.
They know that you're getting hit with information all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And they can fuck with y'all as much as they want. So Terrence Howard, right? So about a year ago, this is the way a Terrence Howard story goes. Terrence Howard became like Shuri from the Black Panther. Right? He became the smartest motherfucker in the world. He went from being a dude from Power to being someone who could take math and bend the universe at his will.
Okay.
Right? And he's all over the place doing all types of different stuff. And people are fucking with it. People are going like, hey, Terrence Howard might have the answers to this. And you don't know. And why are we just dismissing a Black man when he has no ideas? Now, when you listen to it, it sounded like some bullshit. It did. He said gravity was fake. He said different elements on the periodic table could be bisexual.
Did he point out which ones?
He did.
Okay.
Some of them have bisexual tones, is what he was saying.
Mm-hmm.
Bring it in there.
Okay.
And most importantly, he said 1 times 1 equals 2.
Yes.
Now, I gotta give him credit for something. That's a juicy clout chase.
Which one? Which part? The last one?
The 1 times 1 equals 2 thing.
And the multiplying.
Yeah. That's a juicy clout chase. That's a juicy one. I'll tell you why. When you're clout chasing at the next level, you clout chase ideas.
Okay.
See, basic clout chasers, they clout chase off people, but that only goes so far. People clout chase off you, they clout chase off me, they clout chase off whoever. That only goes so far, right? Because it's a person.
Mm-hmm.
But you want to really clout chase, really you say down is up and up is down.
Mm-hmm.
You say it's raining when it's snowing, and that incites people. Clout chase an idea. And the more like wildly held that idea is, the better the clout chase. So he says 1 times 1 equals 2. He was using that. He says that basic understanding of math is a lie. All of the math is a lie. Actually, play the clip right here.
What's 1 times 1?
1 times 1 is 1.
To multiply means to do what? To make more, right?
Yes.
Increase a number?
Yes.
Multiply?
Yes.
How can 1 times 1 equaling 1 be part of the multiplication table? It fails to satisfy the term multiply. It doesn't multiply. Does it? What's an action times an action?
You got some weed.
No, I'm asking you. Honestly, I'm asking you. Reason.
What are we doing here?
Reason. I want you to reason.
I don't know.
What's an action times an action? A reaction. Right?
Okay.
Have you ever seen an action times an action without a reaction? Have you? No. Because equanimity is the currency of the universe. There's always an action times an action.
Juicy clout chase. Once again, if you basic clout chasing, you clout chase on people. A juicy next level clout chase, you clout chase an idea. See? Didn't that shit sound like it made sense?
Yeah.
See?
To multiply.
Multiply.
means
You got
get
more.
How
did that happen? Terrence Howard breaking this shit down.
Questioning everything.
You questioning everything. And that's what he wanted you to do. He said all of our mathematics are a lie. No such thing as straight lines, bisexual tones, like all of this stuff, right? Do I have a problem with that? No. Do I have a problem with different modes of thought? No. Is it a problem for me that a black man could come up with a new way to see the world and make us reevaluate everything? No. Do you know what I have a problem with?
What?
This nigga was bullshitting. That's what I have a problem with. And the minute that he was challenged, the bullshit came out. He was on Joe Rogan's show a couple of days ago. I devoted 3 hours of my motherfucking life to watching Terrence Howard talk to a guy named Eric Weinstein about all of the things that he said. And when it got down to the 1 times 1 equals 2 thing, this is what Terrence Howard said.
That's a metaphor for challenging the status quo. But in me saying 1 times 1 equals 2, like I said, that's a metaphor that there's something very wrong with the math, because math should not be done.
There's nothing wrong with the math.
But that's why I keep saying the 1 times 1 is more of a metaphor.
It's not a metaphor to us. It is life and death.
I understand that, but it was really to gain the attention.
They never do it.
To gain the attention.
Listen, you didn't know, and now you know.
See what I'm saying? You press him on it, and what has he said? He's doing the same thing everybody else on the internet is doing. He's just saying shit. Just saying shit for attention. Just saying shit to get attention. He had a whole part of the intellectual world hand-wringing. He had people commenting and writing going, you just can't understand what he's saying. You don't know what he's doing. And he's just bullshitting. Doing the same thing light-skinned niggas been doing since the beginning of time.
And
which
that's
is,
what it really
is selling the
comes down
dream.
to.
And just selling the dream.
And that's what
the same thing. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, just how much time on the internet do we spend listening to people just saying shit for attention, and then we coming back and we talking about it? He made up a whole new math and then got in front of that white man and got pressed and said, it was just for fun. I was fucking around.
Yeah. Well, guys, I hope y'all feel stupid.
Yo, I'm telling you guys.
Did you believe him?
I didn't believe him.
Are you one of these people?
I didn't believe him.
Is this why it hits hard?
I'm telling you guys, we got to start ignoring some of this shit. And
I would have ignored this had I seen this years ago when he said it.
I'm just saying it's so indicative of where we are. Everybody going back and forth. Everybody talking about you can cure cancer with dirt from South Louisiana. Eat some salt.
All right, now you're stepping into the Dr. Sebi stuff.
What I'm telling you is that, you guys, the internet is a big place. But there are still things that are true and things that are false. And 1 times 1 does not equal 2, no matter how eloquent that DJ from fucking Hustle and Flow says it. No matter how eloquent and articulate someone bullshits to you, it's still bullshit.
Mm.
When I saw that, when I watched him say, I was just throwing it out there to grab people's attention. I'm like, ain't this about a bitch? I done watched 3 hours of this shit and this nigga on here playing.
And it worked. You all are sheep. That's what Terrence said.
Yeah, he's got hey, enough of this shit.
Man believed it.
I didn't believe it.
Guys,
But the nigga said he had a new universe.
The multiply. Yeah, you're right. That is what the word means.
I didn't believe it, but I'm like, I want to know. I want him to talk to somebody that knows more about it. Man, I listened to 3 hours of that shit. I didn't know what the fuck them niggas was talking about.
Well, neither did Terrence.
All right, we out of here. Rest in peace to the mountain lion. Rest in peace to this mountain lion that was killed on the 405. He was just trying to get to your home. I fuck with you. Wasn't tagged or collared, so I don't really have a chance to give him a name or nothing. But since he passed away on the 405, I'm gonna call him Mountain Lion 405. Rest in peace, big homie. I love you. Take your thing caps off, but do not stop learning. I'm Van Lathan Jr.
I'm Rachel Lindsay. Bye, guys.